everybody, and welcome back to ChäoS Head. So, let's go ahead and continue where we picked off last part. Oh, I think my timer started as well before I forget.
世界の均衡は大いなる意志が生まれてから数千年間保たれていた。でも今、それは崩れつつある。とても不安定。だから、私は歌うわ。君たちのカオスを受け入れてあげる。
I see. Maybe she was assuming a stage persona as part of the whole goth punk thing. Ordinarily, people would certainly have trouble understanding it, but by speaking so incessantly, what? Incessantly? What? No, that does... Incessantly. That does not make sense to me. Incessantly is a word, but no, I guess that is incessantly. It looks off for some reason. She created the sense of something mystical, making her fans' hearts easier to take hold of. In reality, Fess was holding something peculiar. In her left hand was a regular microphone, but her right hand was gripping a mysterious-looking mic stand, one in the shape of a sword. Its form was so lovely as to seem sinister, and so sharp that it looked like it would slice off your fingers in an instant if you merely brushed it. It was tremendously large, almost as long as Fess was tall. In addition, the portions of it with glass embedded in the shape of lines radiated an alluring blue light. I wasn't sure whether or not it was really a mic stand, but as a prop for contributing to her stage persona, it was sublime. My eyes became weirdly fascinated to it. Next, Fess slightly hoisted up that colossal mic stand with her right hand alone. Still holding it with a reverse grip, she swept it out in a wide slash to the side. The blue light from the glassy parts traced an arc. That's so dangerous. What would she have done if she'd hit a spectator? What if it weren't a mic stand, but instead a sword? And in order to offer fresh blood up to the demon girl, she used that sword to cut the throat of a single audience member each night. Or something. If so, it would indeed make this live show a black mass hosted by devils. A chill shot through me, and goosebumps rose all over my body. It would be best to get out of here as fast as possible. As I began to think that, Fess murmured softly.
次は3曲目。在下に契約の地を。
Even vaster cheers of delight rose from the audience. Immediately afterward, the other Phantasm members started moving simultaneously, and for a second time, their sounds came flooding into my ears. The roar seemed like it would rupture my eardrums. Won't everyone's ears go all funny from being in a place like this? When I looked over, Masumi was totally into it, pumping his fist to the rhythm in the same manner as the other spectators. When the intro ended and Fess began to sing, the lyrics made me go tense. It was the prophetic song whose lyrics had been pasted into @channel. A dark song that didn't let you sense the slightest hope of salvation. Partly because of the lyrics, but also because of the melody. It felt like something religious. The audience members who had at first been going wild became less and less active as the song continued, until everyone was standing in place without uttering a single word. On the contrary, however, it was because they were so captivated, and among them there were people who gazed fixedly at Fess with the faces of those drowning in ecstasy. True enough, Fess's voice possessed some quality that attracted people to her. Even as I battled the fear and nausea that induced in me by the crowd around me, I was listening carefully to keep from missing any parts of her song. At the end, she repeated the chorus over and over. Strike the stake, tear open the darkest night, bathe in moonlight. As I listened to that phrase, I recalled how the demon girl had slowly turned around to face me, splashed in blood as she stood before the nailed-up corpse. My skin prickled with goose flesh. I had the sense that the air around me had instantly dropped several degrees in temperature. The song was over. Bess soaked in the reverberation of her performance, gazing down and softly swaying her body from side to side. Then she abruptly raised her head. Without warning, without any hesitation in her gaze, she looked at me. I think the last couple times we've done green. I think the last couple of decisions we made, we've done green. So you know what? Let's mix things up a little bit and let's go with a red. It wasn't merely a matter of her looking in my general direction or of her eyes meeting for a single second. Bess was clearly looking at me. Steadily, staring fixedly, as though she were confirming my existence, as though she were searching for something inside me. Her gaze was extraordinarily searing, and, for some reason, sorrowful. When I came to myself, I was alone, walking slowly along some rooftop somewhere. The wind was terribly strong, bringing a slanting rain that hit me as it blew in. Strangely, though, I didn't feel cold. I recognized this place. I felt like I'd been here many times before. That's right, this fenced-in Spartan scenery belonged to the school roof. I gazed at my surroundings. The rain made everything hazy and nigh impossible to see, as though the world itself was becoming misty. At the end of my line of sight, on the other side of the fence, was Fess. She stood there, soaking wet, facing me through the fence. She looked straight at me with the same eyes she had worn during the show. As I might have guessed, she held her sword-like mic stand in her right hand. The wind that blew up from below made her damp hair fly about tempestly. There was no doubt that she would fall if she lost even a tiny bit of her balance. Falling from this height would mean an instantaneous death. Though I was only watching her, I went weak in the knees. But Fess stood there with a beautiful posture and showed no sign of fear. Looking as if she were about to start crying any minute, Fess quietly extended her empty left hand toward me. Let's fly together. It seemed almost as if she were silently tempting me. I couldn't say anything back to her. I didn't know what to do. Fess didn't speak either. This time, she spread both hands out on either side in the shape of something being crucified. The wind and rain abruptly died down. I tried to say something, but my voice wouldn't come out. It couldn't come out. Fess's body slowly began to tilt backward. Everything turned into slow motion. I tried to somehow stretch out my hand to her. But my own movements went into slow motion as well, and all I could do was impatiently watch my arm gradually reach out in front of me. Besides, Fess had already closed her eyes. At last, she disappeared from my field of sight. I daydreamed the whole thing myself, but then it had become depressing. But that simply went in to show the power of Fess's aura. Something about her possessed a destructive type of beauty. Well, that led to the topic of what the heck a destructive type of beauty was supposed to be in the first place, but I don't have any clue either. My bad, lol. As for the show itself, I had quickly gotten sick from being in the crowd, and I'd gone flying out of the club. So I'd missed most of it. Rather, I didn't want to go to another one. Okay then, time to get back to ESO or whatever to shake off this gloominess. Or glumness, rather. ESO was my daily life, and a pleasant world, and my one comfort, and with how it let me escape from reality. Or, rather, what with how it let me escape from reality. As long as I immersed myself in ESO, I could forget about all the bad stuff. I ceased being myself and ran about in base lard as Nightheart. But Nightheart wasn't doing too well today. Of course, I knew it was due to how I used the keyboard and made decisions for him. But I had trouble accomplishing things I normally performed with ease, and though playing was supposed to comfort me, I got more and more irritated as I continued.
なんだよこいつ捨てるぞお前
I knew it was my fault, but I took it out on Nightheart.
ああもうムカつく
Scrunching up my hair, I kicked the metal-plated wall. Once I had completely worked off my fury, I took a sigh and leaned back against my chair. I blearily contemplated the monitor. Without me to operate him, Nightheart stood motionless at the entrance to Shangram City and stared off into space. I'd always fought enemies while watching Nightheart's back like this. Naturally, he had the maximum possible number of experience points.
僕の経験値っていくつなんだろう
Had that human being named Nishijo Takumi matured at all since he first began playing ESO? No. Rather, since the time he was born? If I'd grown up, why was I so bad at talking to people? Why was I carrying on the lifestyle of a borderline hikikomori? If I didn't log in for several weeks, would Nightheart become a hikikomori as well? Whose eyes are those? As I watched Nightheart's back, I suddenly remembered those words. I started to become a little curious about what Nightheart got up to when I wasn't controlling him. I continued to survey him for some time, keeping my hands away from the keyboard and munching on my potato chips.
もしナイトハルトに自我があるとしたら
Surely he would go striding through Shangram City, shoulders squared. He was the hero everyone worshipped.
ねえナイトハルト
Well,
僕
so...
はいつでもお前を見てるんだぞ
Jesus, that's a long pause. As I was about to say before we got interrupted by the long pause, last time we just did a red, so, do we want to do another red? Because I think we did like 2 greens back to back, before. So yeah, you know, let's do another red.
お前はそれに気づいてるの
All of a sudden, the monitor was enveloped in brilliant light. Struck dumb by this abrupt development, I closed my eyes.
気づいてないと思ったのか
I heard a voice.
いつも俺はお前の命令に従ってきたのに
The voice was coming from the direction of the monitor.
俺の中の人がここまでバカだとは思わなかったぜ
Who are you? I opened my eyes, but the light from before had numbed them. I couldn't see a thing.
もういい俺はお前を捨てるこれからは自由に生きる
Could it really be Nightheart? What do you mean you're leaving me?
そのままの意味だだからお前はバカなんだ
You're a character I created. Are you trying to mute me?
そうだもううんざりだ何が疾風陣雷だ中二病にも程があるだろうお前にわかるか俺がどんな気持ちでそう呼ばれていたかお前はかっこいいつもりだったかもしれないがな俺からすれば恥ずかしいだけなんだよでも俺は自分の言葉を発することもできずじっと耐えるしかなかったんだ
うるさい生意気だぞそんなこと言うなら消すぞ
勝手にしろだがなこれだけは覚えておけお前が俺をボタン一つで消せるようにお前もお前の中の人にボタン一つで消される程度の存在なんだと
Up and that got cut off, but I think he was about to say, what are you saying?
まあ実際にはそんなことあるわけないけどね
Yeah, it's supposed to be cut off, but I'm guessing it's supposed to more or less say, what are you saying? Smiling ruefully at my delusions, I went on regarding Nightheart, who stood in the world of Baselard as stock still as usual and not saying a word. Maybe I should make an effort not to push him quite so hard today. As a thought ran through my head, I resumed playing. Let me describe events exactly as they occurred. Today, I grudgingly went to school. Then when classes finished, I somehow found myself going to buy a cell phone with my little sister. You probably don't have any idea what I'm saying, but I don't get how it happened either.
お兄何ブツブツ言ってんのそれよりほらこの機種はどうかって聞いてるんだけど
I will admit, I do actually find the little sister kind of annoying. I want to hurry up and go home. How many times would it take before my stupid sister finally got the fact that I didn't even need a cell phone in the first place? When I got to school today, Nanami came all the way to my classroom to ambush me. After insulting me with, "It's so rare for you to be at school," she ordered me to come buy a cell phone for sure this time. Once the school day ended, I made an attempt to run away before she found me, but I had forgotten how fast she was. And so, our game of tag came to a swift end when she caught me and took me with her to the plaza by the train station. I didn't really want to come to the plaza. I never did. Even now, nausea had already begun to surge up inside me. Without any idea of how I felt, Nanami picked up a bunch of sample models from the display at the front of the store and grunted to herself as she looked at them. I struggled to comprehend why Nanami was giving so much thought to the matter of buying a phone for me.
これ色が結構可愛いじゃんいいと思うな
Naturally, because she was seeking my opinion, I answered her.
それっていい
うんでもなお兄にはちょっと可愛すぎかも似合わなさそう
Never mind the fact that I'd said I was okay with it, I no longer had any idea how many times I told her, that's fine. Despite the fact that she asked my opinion, she had no intention of actually listening to me. This is why 3D girls are the absolute worst.
お兄大丈夫やっぱり人の多さにやられちゃった
Yes, yes it is.
マクディで休もうか
Ah, Mickey D's. McD's, you say? You're telling me to enter that delinquent saloon, fast food shop? That itself would be hell. I shook my head furiously.
そっかじゃあなるべく早めに決めるねでもちょっと迷っちゃっててさ
I sighed and decided to leave without Nanami. As she examined the numerous lined up cell phones with an earnest look on her face, I secretly snuck away. As I started to head for the Shibuya 107 building, I caught sight of a bizarre spectacle and unthinkingly stopped moving. What's that? Beyond the waves of people, a remarkably conspicuous girl was standing on the steps up to 107. The thing she held in her hand was the sword? Somehow in both its color scheme and atmosphere, it resembled the mic stand Fess had used during her performance. In fact, it'd be appropriate to think of them as being part of the same series. At any rate, it was a humongous sword. It might have been even longer than the one Fess had. Surprisingly, the girl with the sword was wearing a Suime uniform. From this distance, I couldn't tell what her face was like or anything, but even though she stood out so much, she watched the people walk along the road below with an air of composure. That must have taken a hell of a lot of courage. I seriously had to give her mad props. Walking around the middle of Shibuya carrying a toy sword? What was this, some kind of BDSM play? I wonder if that sword was a cosplay prop from some new anime or whatever. Although I'd technically taken a look at all the recently aired new anime myself, had there been one where a sword like that showed up? Was there a show I'd forgotten to watch? I certainly would have found it impossible to make myself carry that sword while walking around Shibuya, but it was a damn cool model. I kind of wanted one for myself. Maybe I'd find it being sold in Akiba, or would it be available online?
Oni?
As someone's elbow dug into my back without any warning, I came rather close to passing out in agony and collapsing on the spot. When I turned around, Nanami stood there imposingly with a furious look on her face.
もしかして逃げようとした？
No, never.
確かにナナが選ぶのに時間かけすぎたのは悪いと思うけどさ。だからってナナを置き去りにして逃げようとするなんてひどいよ。
But we didn't even want a cell phone in the first place. For the time being, I shook my head.
お兄のバカ、携帯の電磁波の浴びすぎで腎臓を悪くして死んじゃえ。
I don't get what you mean.
一生懸命お兄のために選んであげてたナナがバカみたいじゃん。こうなったらもう適当に決める。お兄なんてナナと同じ機種で十分だよ。
I mean, wouldn't it have been easier to do that in the first place? Or because we don't care for a cell phone in the first place, literally get us grandpa's cell phone? I mean, granted, I understand this is like 2000, what, 5-ish? I think it was that this came out? No, that sounds sort of right. It may not be completely accurate, but it was like early, mid-ish 2000s, something like that. So I guess smartphones wouldn't have really been as big of a thing. So grandpa's phone would have literally been a brick phone type thing instead of just a flip phone. But yeah, I mean, you could have literally just gotten us like the cheapest model or just whatever you have. Nani grabbed my arm forcibly.
気で今日契約するんだからね。それまで絶対逃がさない。
わかったよ。話せよ。
わかったならさっさと来て。
I was completely clueless as to why Nanami had gotten so angry. God, what an aggravating sister. In the end, as though all our fretting up until now had been some kind of lie, Nanami picked out a model all too easily. After spending an hour dealing with the red tape related to the phone plan, I got my hands on the phone itself. I was planning to go straight home, but Nanami stopped me.
ナナが初期設定してあげるからマグディやろ。
Ignoring my intentions, she grabbed me by the collar and dragged me to the closest McD's without giving me so much as a chance to protest.
どうせお兄携帯持って帰っても電源入れずにほったらかしにするに決まってるんだから。
Yeah, probably.
ナナがちゃんと使えるようにしてあげる。
Or we can just not. Damn it. Just how much did you have to tie me down before you'd be satisfied? And bringing me to McD's on top of everything. The inside of McD's in Shibuya was pure chaos. There were a ton of people, all talking loudly. Moreover, the high percentage of delinquent types among them was downright abnormal. In the seats not far from mine were a group of gaudy, blonde-dyed mothers and their kids. Absorbed by their blabbering, they ignored their kids, 3 in total, with red-streaked hair. Horrid little brats who shrieked and ran around the store. In some other seats were 4 high schoolers, equally sketchy-looking and laughing rankishly. Definitely mispronouncing that. 2 high school girls sat across from each other, both with bleached hair and loose knee socks, having staring contests with the screens of their respective cell phones. They didn't say a word to each other. Neighboring them was a middle-aged salaryman, probably skipping out on work, who lay slumped face down against his table and snored. A little further away was the even weirder sight of 5 elementary school runts, their knapsacks set on the floor, swinging their legs as they chattered cheerfully to one another. A group date? You're in elementary school and you're having a group date? In any case, as far as the eye could see, the place was filled with the kinds of people I didn't want anything to do with. Nanami sure was something else, being able to keep her presence of mind in a place like this. As for me, the sheer number of people made my head ache and my stomach turn. and it was only getting worse and worse. More to the point, what exactly did I have to come out at McD's with her? Or why exactly did I have to come hang out at McD's with her?
ねえねえ、着信メロディーはどうする？なんか希望ある？
Nanami asked me without looking up as she toyed with my cell phone.
アニソン。
却下。そんなだからお兄はオタクさんなんだよ。
Or you could just not do a ringtone. I literally never have my ringer on my cell phone. You were the one who asked me what I wanted. It's my phone to begin with, so let me do what I want with it.
あ、そうだ。大村彼らの新曲にしたら？あれすっごくいい曲だよ。最近のナナのお気に入り。
No idea who that is.
それこそ却下だ。
うん、まあ、お兄に大村彼らは似合わないか。
Nanami said, showing out a fragment of consideration to her older brother before biting a potato chip. On a side note, she'd ordered a fish burger combo, even though it wasn't dinner time yet. Moreover, I was the one who had to pay for it. Pretty ridiculous given that I felt too ill to have an appetite.
あ、そうそう。それとね。
For some reason, Nanami pulled her bag out on top of her knees and started fishing around inside it.
お、あったあった。
What she proudly pulled out was...
ゲロカエルの不良品。
with a manufacturing defect.
不良品じゃないよ。先週出たギョロリゲロカエルン。
は？
知らないんだ。やっぱ遅れてるな、お兄は。
I mean, for all you know, that entire series of Garo Froggy could literally have started with manufacturing defects. Because that is how some models of GPUs and even CPUs are literally created, is that a lot of their models often end up being defective dies that did not make the cut for a higher end GPU or CPU. And so they just had a little bit lasered off or shut off in firmware or whatever to create this lower end product.
ゲロカエルンって毎週金曜日に新作が発売されてるんだよ。
That is a ridiculous release schedule.
もう全部で12種類ぐらいあるんだから。
For real. These things had enough merit to keep selling each week.
ナナが携帯につけてるのは最初に出た普通のゲロカエルンでしょ？
Because it's what, like 52 weeks in a year? You'd have to release 52 new models in a year. Assuming you even, you know, the thing maintains its popularity for an entire year. No, that, No, that doesn't work. That don't work. That don't work at all.
で、次がデブッチョゲロカエルンで、その次がカクカクゲロカエルン。
Nanami effortlessly recited the names of various Garo Froggies.
第4弾がのっぺらゲロカエルンで、第5弾が輝くゲロカエルン。
The hell is Faceless Garo Froggy? That one definitely had to have been manufacturing defects.
第6弾が一番人気があって、猫ゲロカエルンっていうの。
Oh my god. A frog cosplaying as a cat? I kind of want to see it, to be honest, just for the hell of it.
その後が幽霊ゲロカエルン、眠るゲロカエルン、燃えるゲロカエルン、ゾンビゲロカエルン、酔っ払いゲロカエルン。
Drunk Garo Froggy. For a toy that is presumably mostly marketed towards a younger audience who are probably not legally allowed to drink. So you make a drunk version of your toy. I mean, this would be like if whoever it is that owns Barbie, okay, released a alcoholic Barbie or something like that. No. People will throw a fit if you released a product like that. Should remember them all. Hold on, maybe.
お前コンプリートしてるの？
もちろんだよ。全部集めなきゃ意味ないもん。
Okay, that was my timer going off. Or you could just not. That's also an option. It's just not. Okay, well, that's gonna be it for this part. I will see you all next time, where we will be continuing this series, our Chaos Head redo series, because like I said way back when we started this, first series got axed because of me not being able to load saves for whatever reason. I honestly don't recall why it was. I think I mostly attributed it to I think it was around the time I upgraded to Windows 10 from Windows 7. I think that might have broke some stuff, especially with App Locale. But yeah, because I do recall that this, I'm pretty sure it was this game that had a point in it where if you try to load a save during that portion, you, well, it doesn't work. It's also possible I'm confusing this and Police Knots, another game that I would love to return to at some point in the future and try again at. I just haven't had the time to try. But yeah, so I will see you all next time. Like I said, we'll be continuing this. Again, quick reminder, I do have a Discord and a Patreon. I highly recommend you join the Discord so you can stay up to date on channel happenings. As for the Patreon, that is for if you enjoy the content on the channel. That is the easiest and best way to help support the channel. For as little as $1 a month, you can get early access to all of my videos. That early access typically comes in the form of around about a week. I say that that's not completely accurate for this series because it goes up on Tuesdays. It's more like 48-ish hours because I typically upload that week's videos on Saturday or Sunday. So yeah, technically it's more like 48 hours in the case of this series. But either way, you know, it's early access. But yeah, so I will see, like I said, I will see you all next time. But until then, a goodbye and farewell. And I did save, right? Just double checking. Yes, I did. Okay, good. So yeah, that'll be it for now.